Well, here we are for the news review, and I'm joined by Samuel Kojo Brace. Sam, a very good morning to you.
Thank you.
You're looking all dapper on Good Friday.
Saleh.
You're looking so sharp. You're looking stunning, gorgeous.
Today, like I have an appointment with the president one-on-one.
But it's a day that a lot of people feel we shouldn't celebrate. But it is fitting to celebrate on a day like this because on the back of what was done for us today, the Bible tells us by his stripes we are healed. It's not a preaching session we're having this morning, but at least some of us are proud of what God has done with us and proud of our faith as well. So here we are, Good Friday, culminating in Easter Sunday.
Sure.
Christ is risen, he is risen indeed.
And we have to celebrate every aspect of it because it's a day which was supposed to happen. Because you and I, our sins had to be paid for. Yeah. If today didn't happen, then obviously we wouldn't have had that, being paid for. So yeah, it's a great day in which, of course, we all have to revel in it and to celebrate it as well. Yeah. Whatever it is, maybe after here we know where we're meeting to have fun.
It reminds me of a quick story, though, very quickly, a bit of an anecdote. So I'm sure you've heard about the story of Belling the cat.
Belling?
The cat. So a conference of mice, they met, and there was a cat that was terrorizing, them day by day, day after day, and all of that. And they had a conference, and in the conference they were asking themselves, how exactly do we deal with this situation? They prophet, some prophet this, some prophet that, but none of the options appeared to be anything that would work. Then one young mouse came up and said, how about we find a way of getting a bell around the neck of the cat so that whenever it is coming, we will hear the sound of the bell ringing and move away.
Away from.
And everyone accepted it. Then an old mouse came up and asked, brilliant idea. But the question is, who will bell the cat? Who will put the bell around the neck of the cat? Which one of them would dare go in?
They should elect about two of them who would dare do that.
Exactly. And that, just as you spoke, it brought to mind that analogy or that story because Christ had to be the one to take that option and stand in for us.
Yeah, sure.
But anyway, so let's get into other bits, snippets from the online portals and more. Brace, I'll start with you. So we're going to start the conversation here when it comes to inflation and especially food prices. And that is, I mean, when it comes to agric, it's one of your fortes. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the latest democracy index and the rule of law and how we're faring. It appears we've taken a bit of a tumble. But maybe we should start with what My Joy Online or any of the portals is saying. Let's quickly start with one of them.
Okay, so if you go into myjoyonline.com now, Supreme Court's ruling on Ascent North MP, a travesty of justice. That's according to former President John Dramani Mahama. That's a story there. You would also see Supreme Court has done injustice to Ascent North MP. He should apply for review. That's according to Dafia Mapo. He appeared on PM Express within the week, I'm sure.
Right. He was on the AM show yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
okay.
He was here with us. And I'm sure you've also heard from Professor Kweku Asari, who has said that, look, bring an end to this matter. All you have to do is resign. Resign. Take that option. Just go ahead, regardless of whatever is going on, court and all of that. Resign. Say, or resign here, Yamutu. Then there will be a by-election, and then put yourself in pole position to win, so that it can send a message. But even more important for me is what Professor Asari says about the problems. I've forgotten the exact terminology he used, but the problems extant in the ruling or the judicial system. He pointed to some areas of concern in there. And I feel that is one of the areas that we ought to look at, because sometimes, and I'm someone very in the thick of things when it comes to the law as well. I feel that we can only get better, we can only keep fine-tuning, because there's no system that is perfect. So when we say some of these things, it has nothing to do with lambasting anybody, because I am not perfect, you are not, and obviously our judicial system isn't perfect.
I had a lot of conversation around this yesterday, and people are asking questions. Okay, so if he says he should resign,
how is it done? What are the processes even to follow in this instance?
Will that be it? Because we know that there's also the criminal aspect of this whole proceedings, which of course will be activated at a point in time. So if he resigns, does it kill it?
Let's be factual. Even in instances where people have been mired in some things, that once there's a political tint, I mean, honestly, I don't see the criminal bit getting to the point where maybe he is incarcerated or something. I mean, let's be factual with some of these things. When it comes to our politics, I think there's an unwritten rule or some agreement that these political parties have when it comes to my party member, your party member, and some of the things that come up. They seem to have a convention that, they will prosecute these things, will appear, but in the end, Casey Amutu. That is what I see.
But I've heard people also referring to the Adamu Sakande.
The Sakande
case. And of course, if that is something that they are going
anything to go by,
take a cue from, then you should expect that it might get it. Because
time will tell.
I've heard some leading politicians cite that particular case, and when that case comes in, then
citing the case is one thing, but even for our judicial system to go to that extent is another thing. If you consider what even Kandapa, National Security Minister Albert Kandapa, said in recent times in terms of context, I feel that even in applying the law has its spirit and its letter.
Oh yeah.
There is what the wording says, and there is the understanding, proper understanding, maybe interpretation, depending on the circumstances. The law isn't interpreted in a vacuum. There's always context to the situation. But here's what I mean. I'm not saying that it couldn't get to the point where maybe he would be incarcerated or something, but I have my doubts, my skepticism. And look at the Koko Ajidoho. Do you remember Koko Ajidoho and ending up at the CID?
I think
do you remember Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo? Do you remember?
But these issues.
No. I'm saying that these are political issues, whether you like it or not.
That is true, but I'm saying that
they fall within that domain.
The reason why this may be a little different is that this one has a precedent where someone was booted out of parliament and was jailed.
Someone said that case in itself is not exactly relevant or an authority to follow when it comes to this extant one.
Well, let's see how this progresses. But it's legal. What we have to also make clear is that the substantive case itself has not been.
It's still pending.
Exactly.
It's pending.
So when that substantive case, which is asking the court to declare that his election is unconstitutional and null and void, if that is determined, then of course you ask yourself, what is the next line of action? So maybe. And
I've heard someone from the NDC, I just forget, saying yesterday that basically, as far as he is concerned, it's already been determined. In the sense that he feels on the back of the Apex Court's ruling in this instance, it appears it's a sequence of events, and that he thinks it would lean a certain way. And that certain way would be that, it was unconstitutional, and so there must be a by-election. I found that a bit surprising, but that was the take of the person. So,
anyway, I mean, this is an interesting development. Where it will end, we all can't tell now.
No, nobody.
We'll all have to wait how the court will progress and give us the final determination of the case. Then all the other issues that will come up, we say matters arising, will come up, and then we'll see. But I'm told that the man is very, very popular in Asen North.
Right.
Yeah, that if and that's why the NDC is determined to put him up.
Right.
For re-election.
Because there has been talk about that within the party about whether even in the instance of a by-election popping up, should they go ahead and put him forward again or put someone else forward. It's a discussion that we hear is ongoing within the party. But some have said that on the back of all of this and supposedly antagonizing him, he is the best candidate to be fielded in that area.
If you listen to the people from his constituency, you get the feel that, look,
they are solidly behind him.
He's the guy they like. I don't know what he's done, but it looks like he's the guy they like. So, and every by-election is also like an examination on the government itself.
Yeah.
So let's see.
It's kind of like in the U.S. when the Senate seats are up for re-election or congressional seats.
Test your popularity.
Exactly.
So let's see how this will go. But again, we're not saying that it's going to come off because the court has not called for that.
Right.
So until the court determines the main case or the substantive matter, as they say, then we'll know how we are progressing. It will be an interesting development. So let's see how it goes. You know that there's also this issue about the Jomoro MP,
yes,
which is also in the secondary high court.
I think Toffee, right?
Yes,
right.
Toffee. So let's see how that.
I tend to call her Toffee. Toffee.
Let's see how that also progresses. It will be interesting to watch this space.
Right.
How the Asen North goes on, and how
Jomoro.
The Jomoro also progresses.
There's also the Techiman. Is it Techiman North?
But that has not gained currency like
it's interesting.
The North
in fact, that was where those injuries we speak about when it comes to election 2020 and the happenings there, you know, the military getting involved or the security services. I think it was joint, police, military getting involved. You're right, but currency hasn't really, it did for a while and then, but topical at this time, even as we talk about Jomoro and we talk about Asen North, would be Ayawaso Central, Asen Central, and Domeko Abenya. You know why I'm going there?
Yeah.
Because, you know, the Member of Parliament for North Town, Samuel Kujatu Abakwa, has said that, they want one by-election. Let's give them 4.
Well,
and you know why? Because of the absenteeism of these
but that is
members of Parliament.
On what the privileges committee will come out with. Yeah. Because according to if you don't give a reasonable explanation for your absenteeism, and I'm sure it is the report by the committee that will tell us how we progress on this matter. So let's see. It all depends on what they will tell us. But for now, what the court is dealing with is something quite different from these ones. But it won't be out of place for us to join the two. So let's see.
Right. Well, let's check out some more stories from My Joy Online, and then we can look at the inflationary details and maybe that latest report. So which other stories will you do, Kojo Breeze?
If you go to myjoyonline.com, and when I saw this story, really, I smiled. Pre-sex NSMQ finalists receive admission to 14 universities in the U.S.
We're talking of the likes of Cornell and the rest, you know interesting schools. Lamini, who is with
when I saw the story, I was like, is this in response to...
but I feel on that tangent, you see sometimes, usually we'll talk about the big boys who get all other schools running kitikiti and running katakata in the NSMQ. I mean, my own school is one of the big boys, but you wouldn't find us at the top.
What school is
like
that?
Bishop Herman.
What?
Bishop Herman.
Oh, okay. Anyway.
But of course, in this, if you are talking of top 5, I mean, the likes of Presec, Prempe, because Prempe now has 5. Presec, I think, has 6. They were gunning for their 7th. Then there's I think Mfansipim, Owas, Mfansipim, Achimot. I mean, if you picked the top 10, you would have these schools. Gehe, they have wonderful, results in the WASI and all of that, but
not in the NSM.
They've never. I think that their best is what the semifinals.
I've not really. I'm waiting for a day.
I mean, I'm waiting for the day. I stand to be corrected.
My school will also feature.
Which school?
Badubon, so Senior High Technical School.
Where is it located?
Agron Kanta, Hunter West.
Okay. I've always said that you can go to or attend a good school and still turn out bad, and you can attend a bad school and turn out very good.
I remember
it's a thing of life. It's like getting a first class in university. People say, you got first class, but Charlie, you don't be the first class you go.
A senior of mine, when I went to that school first, I was quite not happy. She called me and said, look, it doesn't matter what school you went. What matters is that you allow the school to pass through you. And my English teacher then re-emphasized that. And that really changed the whole, my perception about the school and what I have to learn. So I said, okay, from that day on, I'll make sure the school passes through me and not me passing through the school. There are two different things. I have to ensure that wherever I go, and someone asks me, where did you go to? I say, I went to this school, then he places the school a little here. Yeah. So that changed.
Sometimes it takes exactly that. You are that bright star, and someone will think, you're You're from that school?
Yeah.
Then the school must be good.
Myself and Justice Beidou anyway.
Justice Beidou as well. He'll come and meet me here. He will come and meet me here. Okay, so we've done this. Any other portals? Maybe we can just quickly check. And interestingly, I don't want to forget, we should also talk about Elon Musk and his decision to, buy Twitter for over, what, 41 billion?
Have you read?
And there's a surge in the stocks.
Yeah, but have you read the letter? Yes, yesterday on social media, people were saying that's the audacity of
that. You see, when you get kwacha, sika, kudi,
it says, "This is my last my last offer to you, and if you don't,
I'm off the board." And it took him some 3-point-something billion or so to purchase the 9% that he got. So he's basically saying, Charlie, hey, money they talk.
Yes, if you have money, there's nothing.
No nonsense.
The only thing you can do is to buy life. Exactly.
And health.
Sure. Anyway, also still on my JoyOnline.com, act responsibly and safely as you celebrate Easter. And that's according to the father of the nation, President Akufo-Addo.
He couldn't have said it any better, because sometimes we all get very reckless at this time. And people lose their lives. Have you noticed? Whether it's the Eid periods, the 2 Eids, or whether it's Christmas, Easter, people often end up, people are doing this and doing that and going to Kwewu and going to the Volta region and going to Ada and other places. You would hear one person has drowned here, this person has car accident. So it's a very pertinent call, especially in these times of rampant accidents on our streets. We have to be very careful.
Take your personal safety as your priority in this time, and also the safety of your family. You have to ensure that you're not going to places where you'll be endangered. You need to ensure that whilst even on the road, you are driving safely, to ensure that you protect yourself and protect the other user on the road. And by that, it's the addition of small effort that then helps us to achieve. So that's an important thing, something that we need to consider in celebrating Easter around this time.
So those are the stories from my Joy Online. Are there any others you're going to be looking at?
Well, so if you want to talk about business, says tax expert outlines 6 exemptions in e-levy law. So you can go on to myjoyonline.com and read details of that particular story. Also, food prices, transport fares push inflation to 19.4%, highest since August 2000.
I want us to get into that before we do graphic online. The food prices, in February, we were told, that I think by the World Bank, that we would hit some highs globally, and some countries have done that. But in our case, it's been pretty stark, pretty steep. I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, the Living Standard series with Mami Esi Thompson, and it's shocking. Some people are even talking about the fact that in some places, a ball of Kenke is 5 cedis. That is outrageous.
But see, let me give you.
And it's not common, but they say in some places you will get it for as high as 5 cedis. It's outrageous.
See, a 50 kg of maize that was sold for 80 cedis, or it was 60 cedis.
Right.
60, 70 in 2018 is now being sold around 350, 400.
Did you say 60 to 300?
Yeah, no. Yeah.
60 to 300.
60, 70 in 2018. Okay, no. At 60 in 2018, it is now hovering around 170.
170.
Yes, but that's how
that's about a 200+% increase. And of course, for anything, we would expect that over time there would be some inflationary,
but this has been too much
effect. But in this instance, that's the problem. It's way too much.
I am told it's still going to go up because see, the cost of fertilizer,
As for that one,
in 2018,
I had interactions with the Peasant Farmers Association, with John Dumelo and others, and it is indeed true. They all corroborate that they are paying so much more.
So fertilizer in 2018 was 80 cedis. Yeah. Now look at it. In 2018, when it was 80 cedis, a price per 50 kg maize was how much? 60 cedis. Yeah. In 2022, they are buying that for 400 cedis. In 2022, they are selling it for 170, and they tell me because of this 400, it will still go up. So the cost of input is rising. And
so definitely,
exactly,
like John Dumelo and
yes.
Co told me, they are going to try to manage it, but especially when you don't have economies of scale, you are not a big, farming entity. I think John Dumelo is farming he said about 200 acres, and he was hoping to go to 300 when he interacted with me, but he's not going to be able to do that now. In fact, he's just going to try to maintain. There was a gentleman who came here, a reverend as well. He is farming some 500 acres of cassava, and he was hoping to go to about 700, 750. He's not going to. Some are even shrinking. So that also impacts our food security. Food security issues right there. If our farmers don't produce enough, what are we going to have to do? We're going to have to export. And we know how crucial cassava is, for example, to not just industry here. There are many things we can do with it. It's also about the fufu and all the other things that people consume.
There are a lot of things that we need to do in the agric space to ensure that food is available and also cheap or affordable per se, so that everybody can afford it. Until we do those things, and I must say, having a chat with the farmers, they sort of paint the picture that, look, certain factors have come into hurt us. For example, the climate change is a factor here, because I was just speaking to a maize farmer who says, look, when we couldn't predict the rains, it affected our planting season, and that is something that we need to look at. Again, the cost of fertilizer and all of that is also something that is affecting us. And I'm told that government built up, this, the 1:1 warehouse thing.
Right.
They built quite a number of them. But the buffer stock is expected to buy these products from these farmers. And that's something that now the farmers grow. Buffer stock is supposed to buy. And then when the point about farmers being able to sell is something that is quite different. It sort of, affect how the farmers go about their farming activity. So it's a myriad of activities or myriad of factors that we need to look at and, deal with appropriately. So let's see how this also goes about. But it's an interesting discussion that we'll be having later on, so that we can go deeper into all of the factors and how this is, because like I said, in 2018, the 50 kg of maize was selling for 60 cedis. It has now jumped to 170, and it is going to go up. So if you look at 60, if it was to be 120, that would be 100%. Now it's 170. My brother, we are just getting very close to somewhere that will be unsustainable. But that's where we are. Uncharted
territory. So on My Joy Online, there are some other stories. We can also do some sporting content from there. You remember recently we had a few people, Game Boy fighting. What's my name?
What's your name?
Oh, before Game Boy went and fought, he was like, what's my name? Game Boy, what's my name?
But when you ask what's your name, we'll say you are Ben a couple.
But Game Boy was like, what's my name? And then he would beat Gathia and Charlie, that thing, check like the guy, taking time. He beat him, he do buka buka.
This fight in this industry, sometimes I think they only come to spice up how things are talked about in the industry. You remember the Will Smith slap? People were saying that it might even have been, an arranged stuff, but we don't know. Will Smith has.
I don't think so, judging from some of the reactions, and even what he said afterwards. But let's do some of those sporting stories. I would have done same. Andrea Yu on Suarez's handball against Ghana in 2010, and that has been corroborated by other people. I don't know whether it's Paintsel and others, but anything to save your country from what? Defeat. And he did that. And do you see, when he did that and was red carded, he was weeping. When Asamoah missed the penalty, he was jubilating. I mean, he had achieved his goal.
He was a hero for them.
And in the end, they beat us.
But for that ball, would have beaten them. And I'm sure that year would have been our year.
I think going to the semi-final, it would have been really, interesting to see us do that. Because I think that year there was Holland. The Dutch were in there. I think they progressed. I think they eventually beat Uruguay, something like that.
I think so. And then they went.
They beat Uruguay and went to the finals.
And they went for that.
Yeah.
And then they allowed Spain to beat them.
They allowed. But do you think the Spaniards came to lose?
You remember that we met them, was it in the group stages or friendly, and they beat us. But around that time, no country was beating Ghana back to back. And if we had met them in the semis, we would have been in the finals. I was so sure about this.
I mean, that ball, that match, it still haunts me. Honestly, and as much as sometimes people say, Asamoah Gyan, and this is just my personal opinion, he is fantastic. If you look at his goals against the Czech Republic, the United States, even England, that memorable goal, he says it's one of his best goals, including the one against the Congo, when we're trying to qualify for, I think, the AFCON or something like that. But amazing guy. But for me, that penalty miss, there are some defining. No matter how good you are or what you've achieved, there are certain things that define, like Lionel Messi, the last Copa America that finally he got. It would have been quite a blot if, after all that he had achieved, he had not won the Copa America. For me, I feel that was Asamoah Gyan's, that was the highlight of his career.
Okay.
And
he blew it.
And it's even more topical because I feel Stephen Appiah, I mean, if you followed wanted to take the penalty.
Yes.
There was less pressure on him.
Yeah.
And he said, let me take it. And I feel in that instant,
and
sometimes you shouldn't go for glory for yourself.
Yeah.
You should go for the glory
for the group.
For the group. And I feel that is where, for me, it will always hurt me
because we were the hope of the continent at that moment in time. And Stephen Appiah was like one of the most matured people in the team who I think was better placed to have accommodated the pressure. But Charlie, what is...
Some say Asamoah Gyan was thinking of the dancing he would dance.
Oh, no. He wanted...
Even before he had...
He wanted to make himself proud and his family proud. It just didn't happen.
From the footballing perspective, though, looking at where because it was more centered, the ball. Looking at where he placed it, the power bit. Sometimes I feel it is also a bit about how the training and stuff that goes into our players. Technically, we've not fared too well when it comes to penalties. In 2008, thereabouts, when we won the World Cup, and is it under 20?
Under 20. Under 20.
It was, look at the penalties we missed. I think it was just a day that we had to carry. We missed what? Was it 3 penalties or so?
No,
or 2?
I think it was 2, yeah.
A piece. But interestingly, the Brazilians were also fumbling. But I feel with that kind of opportunity, you would want to place the ball, usually. Place the ball, whether right or left. I mean, place it and measure your power. But the power and everything, that's why it hit the bar, ricocheted, and that was it.
Individual players and how they take their penalties. Did you watch the Senegal?
But even if you watch Asamoah Gyan, most of his penalties are directed. They are placed.
Yes.
Even though he will go for power, they are placed.
Saying
this was centered.
If you watch the Senegal and Egypt game, the last penalty was taken by
Sadio Mane. Right.
He knew that I had the expectation of the country on my shoulders. And he's not a good penalty taker. What do I have to do? Let me go for power. And he went for power.
But he also went for direction. Don't miss it.
It was middle.
He went for direction.
Well, but no.
I agree. It was centered, but he still went for direction. And there was intent.
Exactly. But Asamoah Gyan also hasn't had intent. I'm just saying that sometimes it doesn't just happen for you. We've had great. You remember David Beckham? The sort of penalty he missed.
I'll tell you what.
Euro 2004.
I nearly died that day. Not died but nearly.
I mean, just that for me, I felt we let Africa down. We were the hope of Africa. Nelson Mandela told us that, look, go and make us proud. But it was just not.
Let's do something quickly to wrap the conversation. Let's look at graphic online. And of course, all the paragliding news is here as well. And then KNUST Swami Mazin. I hear that they don't pronounce it magazine. Swami Mazin announced partnership to redefine engineering. That is interesting for me because we've had the Kukumpes and the Mazins and the Abosuo kinds. We've not been able to do anything with it. And the Kantanka bit too has not necessarily translated into what we've seen in different parts of Europe. There's also fuel station manager jailed 120 months for stealing 398,000 Ghana cedis. Opana.
But these people,
be joking.
Sometimes these monies when you hear stories about how they use them, for example, like you hear stories that someone has put about 100,000 cedis on a bet when the money is not for you. I don't know what really goes into.
So we're near.
No, but you don't take that risk. The money is not yours.
You will not take that risk, but someone else will.
Company.
You will not take that risk, but someone else will. Really? Did you hear of the South African lady, a student, I think?
Which one?
I think some millions of rand or something was mistakenly placed in her account or something of the sort. Charlie started blow up. She was spending, I think she's been jailed. And a Ghanaian in the UK, something similar, years back, happened. And she was buying luxurious items and knowing very well that you weren't expecting that money in your account.
When the money is not yours, you don't spend it the way you feel like. Anyway.
Russian warship, let's do some BBC. Russian warship Moskva sinks in Black Sea. I'm sure you've heard of that. The Russians have been talking about the fact that maybe it was a technical fault, but the Ukrainians are saying they sunk it, so to speak. There's more there. Blood money being paid for Russian oil. That's according to President Volodymyr Zelensky. Of course, you would expect a lot on Ukraine.
The war of words.
The war of words.
Yes, where he says that, I'm sure a certain man somewhere was...
It will trigger something, yeah.
Let's go in here. Let's help them out.
But I think the bit about Zelensky being an actor has worked well for him in this instance.
Yes,
he's played it.
Sure.
You know, he's played to the gallery in some...
It has made him the toast of the West. Let's see how this goes. Interesting, but I feel that the world should talk to the two parties. Let's bring an end to this. Yeah. It doesn't help all of us. All of us around the world are suffering. Look at us in Ghana now. Yeah. We're buying fertilizer for 400 cedis. They will say it's because we import a lot of it from Ukraine and Russia. Yeah. And because of the war, we are not getting it. So, you know, when demand is more than supply, obviously, price elasticity, or whatever we call it in economics, will play up. And that's what this is happening. So they should care about people like us and say what we are doing is not...
When all these things happen, it's those at the very bottom who suffer the most.
And look at the people who have lost their lives. It's pathetic. They have to think about these people who are dying needlessly and say, enough is enough. Let's bring an end to this. I wish we can hear this today.
Just to wrap, guilty verdict for Islamic State jihadist in US. Elon Musk, not sure Twitter bid will be successful. And Depp and Heard marriage ended in mutual abuse. You know, Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, the Aquaman star, mutual abuse. There have been accusations and counter-accusations. But anyway, this is where we draw the curtain. Sam, what a guy, pa. Whenever you come on, Charlie, you bring out another, angle of me that is solid guy.
Even the multimedia fever, you know, or the multimedia.
Maybe the suit too, the suit.
Oh, that be
suit to know and the tie. And the different.
Oh my God. Charlie, what? Even the multimedia feel. That's the thing. The family.
I agree. So
I agree. When the family is tight, you get to be tight.
All right, do stay with us. We have a lot more coming your way in sports and more. We'll be right back.